So next slide, please. Okay. So understandably again, while the second quarter actually during the ECQ, the market did not perform so bad. During the third quarter, there was a slowdown. There was a tremendous slowdown. So only the middle income, the mid income segment, did not dramatically decline. There was a decline in all other sectors. Okay, so this is understandably the result already um, of the health crisis or of the pandemic. Next slide, please. Um, Now, while the sales have slowed down, the pricing actually has not changed much. Okay, so why did it happen, or why did the pricing not drop? It's because developers were able to lower reservation fees, lower down payment, and also instituted extended payment terms or flexible schemes. So surprisingly and thankfully, condominium prices have flattened and somehow increased a bit. Okay, so other high-end projects actually increased by 10 to 15% outside of Metro Manila. But that's another story. Next slide, please. Okay, so we did a study of sales of residential condominiums in Metro Manila from March 16 to May 31, 2020, during the ECQ period. So basically, this was the time when all big developers, announced that they were going to cut capex. They delayed launches, and they started to slow down in selling, except SMDC. So within that period, actually, SMDC was able to capture a huge chunk of the market and is now a big market leader. So congratulations, guys. This ECQ period enabled the company to take a huge lead versus competition. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the Las Piñas study, we're now entering into the study for Las Piñas. My colleague Kathy from Albado will be presenting this portion. Kathy, please.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. So, a closer look of Las Piñas City. Out of the 16 cities of Metro Manila, Las Piñas ranks 8 in terms of land size. It serves as the gateway to Calabar region, and it's predominantly young population with a high working population. So, most executives who work in Calabar have residences in this area and enjoys the lifestyle of Southern Manila. So, if you also take a closer look at the population of Las Piñas in terms of age distribution, while it is predominantly Gen Z, around 40%, we still have a substantial market from millennials, the old millennials, basically 25 to 37 years old, who are building their families, and also a substantial market from the Gen X, the 38 to 55 years old. So they are the ones who provides home for the family and the ones who are really the ones in the earning level, the executives. Okay. Now, just a short history of Las Piñas. As in any other locations, development starts once agricultural use is being converted to urban use. So in Las Piñas' case, it was during the 1960s. It is also the same year when the South Superhighway or XLEX was completed, which paved the way to open up the south portion. So 1970s, it was the first mall was established via RFC. In 1980s, economic growth erupted due to the construction of the coastal road, but still mostly industrial. So 1990, we saw the shift from industrial to residential and commercial, which is spearheaded by the entry of SM in 1995, SM South Mall. So 2000 era, the notable developments there are the completion of the Anghari, entry of other developers. And one common denominator across all these years is that growth is accelerated whenever an infrastructure is completed. Okay. So further to the evolution of Las Piñas, you can see here the map of Las Piñas. Evidently, there's a line, clear division from Old Town and the new town. So Old Town here is the less green, while the new town is the greener field. So Old Town composed of District 1, which is the historical heart of the city, and New Town where economic growth is centered. And one of the reasons that led to a new town or why the development growth pattern went to District 2 is due to the entry of SM South Mall. Okay. So overall, we know that Las Piñas is a progressive city and will continue to be progressive. And we see future growth due to available but already high-priced vacant land. So for better appreciation of the site, here's the South 2 residences with a total area of 20,000 square meters. Uh, and the development plan was already discussed thoroughly earlier by Mr. Jojo Cruz. So here are just some actual pictures of the site. So for this one, we see several support institutions within a 5-kilometer radius from site. Newest project is the Excel Shore Hotel, 200 meters from our property. So this is our neighborhood. So landscape has changed. The once industrial stretch has now transformed into a highly commercial area. So you only have the pink ones are the remaining industrial portions along Alabang Zapote Road. Okay. So we're just showing here the fault map. So we're relatively far from the West Valley Fault, around 4.2 kilometers. Okay. So we also did a traffic count study along Alabang Zapote. So we did a weekday count and a weekend count from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. While you see that the total vehicular count on a weekday is around 38,744 vehicles and lesser during weekends by 13% at 34,140, mainly because of the ECQ status. But on a normal day, Alabang Zapote Road actually carries 70,000 vehicles, which is the reason why Alabang Zapote Road has always been a traffic thoroughfare. Okay. So in terms of the vehicle types, it's predominantly private vehicles, around 90%. But then again, because of the quarantine status where they're limiting the public transport, on a normal period, the ratio of public and private vehicles is actually 60-40. Okay. So I'll turn you over to my colleague Francis to discuss the site analysis in terms of using our data analytics.
Thank you, Kathy. So the purpose of this study is actually to confirm if we can put a particular and concrete number on the premium that we intuitively know that the nearer a condominium or a development is near certain specific developments, such as a mall, that the price per SQM or price per square meter is actually increasing. So here you have a walkable path. So what you have here are the corresponding dots in the picture, both for the middle and on the rightmost part of the graph, tells you all the amenities or all the developments that are reachable from the point of SM South Tower. So all of that, if you count it, that's all the developments that they can reach within 5 to 25 minutes. So you can see the forward bar on the right part. The leftmost part graph tells you how developed the road networks are in Las Piñas. So we access state-of-the-art OpenStreetMap technology. So we use the power of big data to generate this. So we can see that Las Piñas road networks are pretty much developed. Next slide, please. Okay, now what we have here is the relationship of the price per SQM of the listed properties for sale when it comes to, or when it's correlated with the distance to particular developments. So as you can see, so I'll walk you through the understanding here. if you look at the lower axis, you will read there distance to Star Mall, distance to Star Mall Las Piñas Annex, Vista Mall, etc. You can see that there is a decrease as the distance in terms of kilometer goes up, the price per SQM decreases. So it means that those which are nearer in malls, particularly Robinson Place, SM Center, SM South Tower, and SM South Mall, enjoys a very high price per SQM. And the further you are in terms of kilometers, the price steadily decreases. Next. Okay. Now, this graph really just tells us that there are certain amenities such as banks, fast foods, and restaurants within the 1 kilometer radius of a certain property that influences the price per SQM. So really what this tells us is that the higher the number of banks, the higher the number of fast food, and the higher the number of restaurants that are within one kilometer of condominium or a listed property, the higher their price is. So maybe this is also an additional support as to why a mixed-use development is actually a very good investment, because if you are a mixed-use development, automatically you already have a high number of banks, fast food, and restaurants within the vicinity. Okay, next. We have here, just to give support on what we've done, so the process that we have here is that we scrape the all the listing sites, dot property, property 24, Labudi, as of August 2020, and we were able to generate 16,000 listings. So this is clearly a step up on the old studies that, well, this is clearly a step up wherein the selection of comparables might actually be biased. So in this one, since we are getting all of the listings, we can claim that it's rid of the bias. So for example, if there might be one condominium for sale, one seller would sell it at 150,000 square meters, 150,000 per square meter, for example, and then the other might sell at 145,000 per square meter. With scraping all of these listing sites, it eliminates those individual biases. Okay? Now, what we have here on the left side shows us that the commercial lot has a wider range of values with a max price of around 200,000 per square meters compared to residential lots. So it has a wider range of value. But the average commercial lot price, as we can see here, if we can interpret the yellow box plot, has around 80,000 per SQM, and that's for lot. Okay? But most listings are actually falling from the 40,000 to 110,000 per square meters. Okay, so with this one as well, if you contrast all the residential sites, so one consequence of scraping the listing website is that you get all, not only condominium, you get house and lot and townhouse. Clearly, you can see that the condominium commands the highest price per SQM with around 260,000 per SQM. That's for its highest listing. But most, however, falling from the 90 to 140K per SQM range. Okay, now we go to the cluster analysis. Now, using state-of-the-art clustering methods, so this is really just using unsupervised machine learning. So we were able to find that there are two significant clusters of listings. As you can see, the clusters there are represented by the colors. So the color green, which we already know is the old town of Las Piñas, is commanding a median price per SQM of 81,588, and as confirmed with the presentation earlier, that the new town, symbolized by the pink pixels or pink dots, commands a higher price per SQM of 112,175 per SQM. So this really tells us that with clustering, you will have to interpret the data as to why a particular number is returning such. In this case, we now know that